Let's look at why for Yugoslavia, its breakdown in the 1990s and 3 lessons that we can learn from modern politics today. At the time it crumbled in the 1990s, it was made up of 6 republics and 2 provinces. As you can see, these are Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia and Slovenia, and the 2 autonomous provinces of Kosovo and Vojvodina. For much of the Cold War, Marshal Tito ruled over Yugoslavia, but his death in 1980 preceded a very turbulent decade as a lethal cocktail of an extreme economic crisis, rising nationalism and a communist state facing the end of the Cold War paved its way for what would become a series of brutal identity wars in the 1990s. Slobodan Milosevic plays a central role in all this. As a communist, he arrives in Kosovo in 1987 to warn of the dangers of nationalism, but he makes an impromptu speech that fans the flames of Serbian nationalism. He becomes president of Serbia in 1989 and sets about trying to create a greater Serbia out of the ruins of Yugoslavia in the 1990s. The breakdown of Yugoslavia began in 1991 with Croatia and Slovenia declaring independence. The Slovenian war lasted just 10 days, but the Croatian war lasted 4 years. The bloodiest war was the Bosnia-Herzegovina War of 92 to 95, which saw up to 250,000 people killed, tens of thousands of Muslim women raped, 2.2 million people displaced. Within this, the execution of 8,000 Muslim men and boys at Srebrenica in July 1995 would subsequently be classified as genocide. The war ends with the Dayton Agreements in 1995, but it doesn't solve the overarching crisis. Things come to a head in 1999 with NATO's military intervention in Kosovo, which I've discussed elsewhere. A year later, Milosevic loses power. 2003, Yugoslavia is dissolved, and Milosevic goes on to face 66 charges of war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide, but dies before the verdict is given. Over 20 years on, tensions between countries remain high in the region, particularly between Serbia and Kosovo. Despite the fact that the United Nations has been trying to state-build Kosovo for over 25 years now, and for some, this has created problems in and of itself. But if I can end with 3 broader lessons for world politics. First is complex command structures. As Kate Ferguson's wonderful study of Yugoslavia highlights, rulers use private military companies and mercenaries to distance themselves from the human rights violations being perpetrated. We see this now across the world, with Russia's use of Wagner being a very good example. The second is information wars. In the 1980s, the media, particularly in Serbia and Croatia, manipulated and exaggerated the threat posed by the Muslims. In today's world, social media can take this to a whole new level. Finally, and as I discussed elsewhere, the breakdown of Yugoslavia exposed 2 things: Europe's inability to address crisis in its own neighbourhood and its over-reliance on the United States. European leaders in 2025 are still wrestling with this, as it turns out that history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme.